I cleaned the pond out at Stone this weekend. I cleaned the pond, you have to drain it and improve it. Yes, it's lots of fun.
Martha,
Oh, yeah.
was that you on the zero turn yesterday? Or day before?
Mm-hmm.
Were you? Okay, you were moving.
Oh, yeah, I like that better,
We're
fella.
gonna get that on official record, so we know it's you.
Okay, so we are live for your Transportation Committee meeting, and so the members of the Transportation Committee are Mayor Pro Tem Stowe, Councilman Turner, Councilman Folk. We've got Mayor Martin joining us today. This would be your second meeting. We met in January to talk about various, primarily NCDOT transportation projects. And we've asked Randy Gates from the NPO to come and give us an update on some of those. We've had some meetings with NCDOT on several projects. And then Shelley and I have met with developers of potential projects around town and working with Kimley Horn on our TIA ordinance. So we've got a couple updates on just some things that are just kind of in the works. So Randy, if you don't mind, just give us an update on where we are on some of the bigger projects, particularly the Belmont focus.
This is new, I think.
Yes, it's different, yeah.
Okay. So what Shelley is handing out is the newsletter for major projects along I-85 and 74. I brought that with me last time, and there really haven't been too many updates, but we can kind of look through those. That was the easiest way to get the information back in front of you. And then the second page that she is handing out is an example bridge that we are looking at as far as what the aesthetics could be and what the US 74 bridge across the Catawba River could be kind of modeled after. So if you open up the newsletter, again, this hasn't been fully updated until the 2020-2029 STIP, State Transportation Improvement Program, becomes final. It looks like that the Board of Transportation is going to approve or adopt the draft STIP at their May 6th meeting, I believe. Nope. That's when it's that's when it goes. June 6th. June 6th is when they're gonna adopt that. And so once that becomes final, then we'll make some tweaks to this newsletter. But I've gone ahead and I've put some dates in red so you can see what those delays are looking like right now. There could be some more tweaks, but I don't think it's gonna be anything major. So some updates that I did want to give. So U5800 is about midway. It's the green square to the left if you're looking at the legend for the intersection of Wilkinson Boulevard and Main Street, NC7. We had a public meeting on that one. It's been many months ago with a Michigan Left concept. As a city council, you all passed a resolution saying you were not supportive of that design option. And so what DOT has decided to do with that one is incorporate that project into the I-85 widening so it can be looked at holistically, and you may have already updated the board on that. So I have not seen the change in the draft STIP yet, but everything I've seen that has come out on upcoming public meetings has U5800 listed as one of the projects as part of the larger I-85 widening project. So for the I-85 widening project, that's the one to widen to 8 lanes from US 321 over to NC 273. I've had some holds put on my calendar for 2 public meetings for that. I've been told that NCDOT, the Public Information Unit out of Raleigh, will be sending a news release information to me 2 weeks prior to the meetings, and at that time I will push out the information. But I know, like for my TCC and our MPO board and city managers, I've already pushed it out so you can put a hold on your calendars, because I know 2 weeks in advance doesn't give us a lot of time. Sometimes our calendars fill up pretty quickly. So the public meetings for that, May 21st they are gonna hold a meeting in Belmont at Belmont Abbey. And then on May 22nd, they're gonna hold a meeting in Gastonia at the Gastonia Conference Center. So from 2 to 3 p.m. is gonna be the local officials meeting. That's kind of invitation only, where you'll have some one-on-one time to talk to the project consultants and NCDOT about any questions that you have. And then there'll be a little break, and then from 4 to 7 will be a drop-in public meeting. You are welcome to attend either of those meetings, both of those meetings. We wanted to make sure that, that Belmont, because the meeting's being held in Belmont, that you know that you can also attend the meeting in Gastonia if you have a conflict the night of the Belmont meeting. We just really wanted to have one meeting on each end of the corridor is how those locations were selected. But just because a meeting is in Gastonia doesn't mean it's limited to Gastonia.
What's the date on that again, Brandy?
May 21st is the one in Belmont.
5/21.
May 22nd is the one in Gastonia.
And for public officials, it's what time?
2 to 3 p.m.
2 to 3 p.m.
And so what we're going to be looking at as part of those public meetings, they are going to be drop-in, and they'll have kind of, from what I've been told, they're still trying to figure out the logistics of the meeting, but I think there's going to be multiple stations. Every single interchange, bridge, overpass, highway, rail, all those kind of design options that we've kind of seen in draft form for those intersections, interchanges, really the most important, they're going to be on display for public comment. And I know before, it's been a few months ago, but I received some draft concepts that I've submitted to city staff along the whole corridor. And you had made the comment on exit 26 to add in that additional design concept, and I cannot remember which one it was, and I'm not a traffic engineer.
Boulevard.
Out of the plan. Single something, yes.
Yeah, it was a single interchange.
Oh, it's
Single
27.
point
Single
something.
point,
27.
yeah.
Was that
Yeah,
27?
single
Park Street.
Okay. So because of the comments, and we passed that along, they have incorporated that as an option, and we'll have that on display at the public meeting. So that was good that we were able to get that to them in advance. I have been asked by the project manager, I saw her at a conference last week, they're going to be putting together some talking points because we expect a lot of people to be at these public meetings. And they want to make sure that all the DOT staff, there's going to be staff from various units, Division 12, there's going to be the project consultants, NPO, local government. So they want to just make sure that everyone is kind of saying the same things to the public so that, you don't have one citizen come and talk to one person and says something and goes talk to another DOT staffer and they say something else. So one thing that they have asked is if you have any particular questions or things that you might see could be potential issues from your citizens, if you could pass those along to me and I can kind of give them a heads up, you know kind of what your citizens are going to be looking for. So if there's a hot topic, a hot button issue that you think that they're going to need to be aware of in advance, just let me know, and you can feed those through Adrian, and you can just pass those along to me and I can get those, and they'll try to go ahead and incorporate those into their talking points so they can be able to get out in front of as many issues as they possibly can.
So Randy, if I can get just a clarification. So with this public meeting, since the Main Street and 74 project was incorporated in the widening, we'll see the design for that as well.
You may see some potential designs.
Potential
Yeah.
design.
I don't know, I'll have to verify that, but you could see different design options for that.
Would there be a chance that we could see it prior to?
I can see if they're gonna have that, and I'll see what I can get.
That's always helpful.
Yes. And don't be surprised if the Michigan Lefts is still one of the design options. Okay.
We'll provide the same comments.
Okay. Just, I haven't seen them, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's still not on the table. Let's see. The Wilkinson Boulevard Bridge across the Catawba River. So we have met, we've put together a aesthetics committee to look at what that bridge could potentially look like, as well as any bike ped accommodations across the bridge. And so the Monroe bypass or Monroe Expressway, that's the one-page design. That's kind of something that our committee really liked the look of that bridge, thinking the red brick that we see throughout Gaston County with that beige mortar design. So that is kind of the example that we've given them, knowing that the bridge is going to be seen from many different vantage points. You're going to see it from the water, you're going to see it from the roadway, you're going to see it from the air with the airport being so close. And so we've talked about uplighting options, artwork under the bridge, the way that the columns may look. So this is kind of the example that we gave them, them being NCDOT structures unit and the consultant working on it. And we've told them, let us know what this cost would be, because these are all betterments. So NCDOT is willing to do some things on the bridge, but anything kind of over and above their standard bridge is going to come at a cost to the local communities. For this particular bridge, there is jurisdiction in Belmont, in Gaston County, and Mecklenburg County. Does the city of Charlotte go all the way? Okay, so Mecklenburg County, so those three entities. I do know that NCDOT is going to allow for a 10-foot wide multi-use path on both sides of the bridge. They are going to pay for the cost of that because they need that spread for the drainage of the bridge anyway. So they are going to do that, and that's actually above and beyond what they typically do. So
That'll save a lot of money.
we were lucky with that. But any features of the bridge that are over and above, so like that brick pattern, the uplighting, if we do any type of decorative lighting across the bridge, all those are going to be an added cost. So what we have asked is what that cost may be, what the split between Belmont and Gaston County and Mecklenburg County, what's that going to look like? Because this is future budgets, this isn't FY20. This is FY 21, 22, most likely.
Randy, let me ask you a question about the brick that we have. I mean, I like the brick, it's pretty, but is it durable enough to last a long time?
It is, and they're
Under the
looking
water?
at this being, what did they say this lifespan of this bridge was going to be? Do you recall?
I don't remember.
It was well over 100 years, so they've been building a lot of bridges with these brick patterns.
So they've done this before?
So it's not a brick, it's a stamping and then stain?
It's a stamping on
Yeah.
the, what's it called? Again, I'm not a.
It doesn't matter,
Here.
the technical side, I just was curious if it was actual brick or just a stamp pattern.
Yeah, I think it's a stamp. So there's like a pattern book, and they have
Right.
hundreds of different styles, and even when it came down to we want a red brick, they sent me this like colors, this link, and it had 50 colors of red, 50 shades of red. We're like, I said, I just want it. You pick the colors, you're the experts, you've built these bridges. We just want it red brick, so
Okay.
we'll see kind of what they come up with, but they would really like to come up.
Form liner.
Form liner, thank you.
What is it?
The form liner will be
Form liner.
the brick pattern.
And so they're looking at working to do some renderings of what the bridge could look like with many different viewpoints, and that would be what we would take out to the public at public meetings in the future. So I asked for a timeline of when, we could be expecting those cost estimates, when we could expect these renderings to be completed, and I haven't heard back of what that timeline may be. But just a heads up to be kind of thinking about what that could potentially look like for Belmont's budget.
Randy, who prorates the cost on the betterments? Would that be the DOT? Will they assign a percentage, or do we have to get together with the communities and say, we're willing to put in X amount to meet the total?
Typically, they look at whatever falls within your jurisdiction. So whatever's in Belmont's jurisdiction, whatever's in
Mecklenburg.
Mecklenburg County, whatever, and because I think Belmont, you have the south side, Gaston County has a portion on the north side. Are we carrying the multi-use path all the way to the intersection? at West Catawba, what that cost could be. So those are all the things that they're gonna be looking at. But the cost that we will receive is a breakdown for what's in Belmont's jurisdiction, Mecklenburg County, Gaston County.
How many bridges are we dealing with coming across water? Coming on 321, 2?
Oh, for the I-85?
That's it.
I-85 is just the one bridge across South.
South Fork.
But we will have like this aesthetics conversation that we had for
Yeah.
the 74 bridge. We'll be having that conversation about all the bridges on 85 too. So
Yeah.
thinking through what the communities, is there a theme for the bridges along 85? What that could look like? Do we want to incorporate the red brick on those bridges as well? So that's a future conversation. We were trying to navigate through this process for the one bridge across the Catawba. Know the steps in the process, and then we'll do the same for the I-85 project. Let's see, another project is the South Fork Bridge on 74. So we had a public meeting on that one on April 4th. That one includes the widening of 74 from Market Street, that's in Cramerton, to Alberta Avenue. And we are looking at a 10-foot wide multi-use path on the north side of that bridge with a 5-foot sidewalk on the south side. So they had that to show at the public meeting. I don't know how many people total came to the meeting. It was pretty full at times. We had it at the Wesleyan Church in McAdenville. Everyone seemed really supportive. I didn't really hear many negative comments at that meeting. But then there were quite a few negative comments on Facebook, social media after, with the homeowners along that corridor saying that they had not been notified, they didn't know about the public meeting, they were gonna be taking their properties, and I was told at the public meeting that NCDOT had made contact with all the owners. So I don't know if that was a renter situation, that maybe the actual owner was notified and they, didn't. That's outside of my job, so, but other than that, everybody sees the need. That's a bottleneck right there. I think we can all understand why that project is needed to ease congestion in that area and improve safety. But again, those were a few of the negative comments that I had seen on social media. See, another project is the improve the intersection of the East Catawba and Wilkinson. That one is in the draft STIP for fiscal year 25 for right-of-way construction in FY 26. That one we should be able to lock that one in. Before this cycle, only the first 5 years of the STIP have been deemed committed projects, and anything outside of that first 5 years, we've had to rescore. This next year, we're actually picking up year 6. That's very beneficial to our area because I-85, the next phase, all the way down to the South Carolina state line, could have had to go back through the prioritization. So locking in 6 years really helps us lock in some additional projects. Another project in Belmont that's not on this list is the intersection improvement project at 273 and South Point Road. We had submitted that as a roundabout. That one was programmed in the draft STIP, but that one is for right-of-way and utilities in 27 and construction in 29. That one's going to have to be rescored. So we'll have to go back through the process, so we'll see kind of how it shakes out next time. And this is a 2-year cycle, so we won't know for a little while how that works out. Other projects, new priority projects, so I guess not new because they've been priorities for you for a while, but we're going to be looking at submitting them in P6, so like South Point Road, how we can segment that. We talked a lot about the priorities when I was before this meeting the last time. I know Dean Ledbetter is our corridor development engineer with Division 12. He took on all the Gaston County projects, so he has looked at how that project can score in P6. looking at it potentially 3 segments, looking at it as a 3-lane or is it a 4-lane divided. We had 96 projects that we were submitting and to get draft scores. So we did work to submit all the projects, but we have not pulled all the data out to see kind of what those draft scores could look like. So that's to come, but we do understand that that is a priority for Belmont. One other project, Belmont Rail Trail, wanted to note that the FAST Act is our current transportation bill. That is being rescinded. And the date of the federal rescission is July 1, 2020. So what we have to do is we have to have projects obligated or authorized by September 30th of 2019. In order to do that for these trail projects, we've got a lot of sidewalk projects throughout our 3-county area too, is we have to have the construction plans submitted. So if they're under design, we have to have all of that uploaded and approved by that September 30th deadline. So I know Jackie McSwain has been keeping an eye on the Belmont Rail Trail. She's been talking to the consultants that are designing the project. She's actually up in Raleigh today talking to the head of the STIP unit to see what we need to do with that project to lock it in so that we don't lose that funding. And it may be that we have to lock in a segment of it, push all the funding to like phase 1 up to Sisters of Mercy. Phase 2, we talked about phasing, would be across 85 and somehow incorporated into the I-85 construction. But that may require us to find additional funding later to complete that project. So all of that are questions that are floating around right now that Jackie's trying to get some answers to, and we'll kind of talk through that at the next time. You know, this project has been under design for a while, so you're a lot further along than some of our other communities that haven't started, and they could lose substantial funding. So.
And we should be able to make that deadline.
Good.
Put in my report to you a couple weeks ago, I had a good conference call with DOT Rail and with the engineering firm Moffitt Nickel, and they're right at the end. They were having to get some feedback from the signals unit on a couple of the crossings, pedestrian signal crossing for Catawba Street and Woodrow. And so they were just down to that last bit of detail, and then as soon as they get approval from the signals unit and the rail division to make sure that it all works, then they can send it out to bid. So the goal is to get it out to bid in July.
And then one thing we could think through too is some of I don't know what the cost estimate is for the phasing for that phase 1. But if we have some other projects that cannot get their construction authorization and we could be losing the funding, we could potentially go back to our MPO board and add additional funding to this project, because we know we could lock it in and not lose it. So those are all things, I mean, we would like to see all of our projects be authorized for construction, but there's a few that we just don't know if we're going to make it. So that might be a discussion that we have at the board level. If there is potential for projects to lose funding, let's shift it to projects that we know can use it, so we don't lose it.
There's a railroad track running under Wilkinson Boulevard. Down there right where I guess Guest and Christian is, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
How are they gonna fix that without having a problem?
Fix it.
Bridge going over that.
That's the Norfolk Southern line.
Yeah.
It goes into Cramerton.
Yeah, I
and
think
it
that.
kind of curves and goes into Gastonia, right?
I think that's.
So that's not, they're not going to do
Yeah,
anything.
that's further
That's west of the
where
Wilkinson
this.
projects.
Yeah. So they won't be doing anything with that one.
Yeah, I know it won't affect us, but I mean, eventually you're gonna have to do that. They widen that road.
I don't know if they'll be, I think if it's widened, hopefully in the future, it's being widened to put light rail there. They'll figure it out then.
Okay.
That's all the updates that I had, Adrian, unless you can kind of think of anything else. I know we've talked about the adaptive signal project. I don't have any updates. Have you heard anything on that?
The last I heard on that, DOT signals unit had installed all the new detectors, and they'd installed all the hardware, and they were waiting for Division 12 to install the internet connection to it. So they had retimed all the signals, so you should have noticed that traffic's flowing better on both Wilkinson and Park Street and Main Street. But they don't have the adaptive, or the responsive program keyed in yet. It's supposed to happen this spring. We'll call with Division 12 on that.
And then the ICM project that kind of goes ahead of 85. One of the things that we're trying to do is having 74, all the projects along 74 complete before 85 goes under construction. So the bridge across the Tava, bridge across the South Fork, the signal system, all of that is ready to go before 85 goes under construction, because we know all of the traffic's going to spill onto 74. And so those are going to be new signage on 85, the directional arrows along 74 that can tell people when to access 85 or when to stay on 74. I don't have a full update on that either, other than talked to Rusty Boss with City of Gastonia, and he said DOT's looking to control all those signals instead of Gastonia taking over. So that's all I know about that one. I haven't been part of those discussions in detail. So, but the plan is to have 74 ready before 85 goes under construction, which is much better than the timeline that it was. I know the 85 slipped a few years or being delayed a few years, but if not, both of those corridors were going to be under construction at the same time, and that was going to be a nightmare. So.
Randy, let me ask you a question. I think we've touched on this before, and for the Transportation Committee also. The last council meeting, Kinley Horn was talking about the school construction and this new subdivision, and there was going to be, I guess, a stub out there potentially to tie into the Belmont-Mount Holly connector if it was ever built. We've had conversations about, there's going to be money available through the TIA on this project, and we talked about earmarking that money potentially, matching funds with the DOT. I don't know how the rest of you view it, but I think that's going to be an important road if we can get that built at some point. I mean, does it make sense to you, and to the board to somehow maybe look at a strategy at how we might be able to get that done with TIA money and whatever else we could bring to bear on that?
So that is another one that we have put into the system to test score for the Belmont-Mount Holly Loop, breaking it into segments, seeing what we can do. So Dean has been looking at that quite a bit. And so I think one thing that we could look at, unfortunately, with P5 criteria, and some things are going to change for this future round or the current round that we're working on as far as scoring criteria. But I played around with some numbers last time, and you have to really put like millions of dollars on a project to move the needle. So like 500,000, 1 million really wasn't affecting the score that much. But we've got time to play around with that a little bit to see, where we could see the tipping point. So if I could say, hey, if you could put $7 million on this because this is the cost estimate for this segment, we would see a shift. But we'll have time to play around with that. There is not going to be a lot of funding for this next STIP. So because we're locking in the 6 years, that only leaves us kind of 4 years of available funding for the next one. So we're not going to see as many projects funded as we did this last round. So heads up on that. But we have time to kind of mess around with those numbers and what a local commitment could look like and what it would need to be to really change the numbers.
On East Catawba and Wilkinson, where people come down that road to turn right to go to Charlotte and stuff, they are going to make some modifications to the turn lane on that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. That one,
Second to last, 2025.
6143.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mayor, that project is funded
I've got
for
that.
fiscal year 2025.
I was looking for the actual, a better description. So that one, we submitted to construct a northbound right turn lane on NC7, so that's the right turn trying to get into Charlotte.
Yeah.
And also extend the existing westbound left turn lane on US 74, turning left onto West Catawba. So again, that one with right-of-way and utilities in 25, that one's gonna be locked in. So we won't have to resubmit that one for scoring.
It would be nice if, I know I say this every time, it would be nice if we could get it coordinated with the widening of the Catawba Bridge, since the study area extends through there.
Yeah.
It's that gateway, and
That'd be
with
good.
the 85 closing down, it would just help our circulation.
That'd be good.
Yeah, I've passed that along, and I don't think I got a response, but I can try
I'll keep
again.
asking.
Was that because we're looking at two different pots of money that they couldn't be coordinated or merged?
I think that was just because the timeline was so different. So this one with it being FY '25 for right-of-way, and the bridge is going to be 21, 22. You know, anytime you move funding up, that means another project has to move back, and I think because they were so different, that's why they.
So they're gonna start the bridge first, basically.
Yeah, the
Yes.
bridge will be completed well before this project gets underway for the intersection improvements.
And then, building on Councilman Turner's question about the Belmont Mount Holly connector, Shelley and I had a call this morning, and we'll have another, I guess, a meeting
Yes, this
this week with a developer, potential developer of the Pitcher property, which is now the South Street,
South
South-
Fork small area.
the South Fork
plan.
Small Area Plan.
Yes.
No longer owned by the Pitchers, owned by South Street Partners, I
Yes.
believe is the name. But so we've had some conversation with them about, you know, of course, the South Fork Small Area Plan that council adopted for that property, but primarily that Belmont Mount Holly connector and the importance of putting that in there.
Yeah.
And so they're working on that. That's probably, if this is more than just a really initial discussion, if it's a serious, we want to buy this property and develop it, then we'll coordinate that with you to make sure that we get the functional design that the state wants for that property. Because I'm assuming that's going to be a state road.
Yes, we're looking to see future how we could even get a state route designation so it can be in the regional.
Because they're hard to get.
They're hard to get.
Okay, but we definitely want to include that and hopefully start that on the north side so that you can connect Armstrong Ford Road down to Nixon Road to start to get some circulation and a little bit of relief off of South Point Road. Then, of course, the farther south they develop, we'll build that.
Let me ask you, when we met with the developers or when that property changed hands, we were talking about the road, and they were basically saying, you know, I said, are you going to build this road A to Z? And they said, no, we will build it as we build out. And so they said, what's your build-out timeframe? They're saying 15 to 20 years. Is there any way that with the state or the MPO or us that we can come together and get a more beneficial timeline to get that road built? Because it's going to provide relief, but we need the relief now. And if they segment it as they build out, it's really not going to do us any good for a couple of decades. I mean, is there any pragmatic solution to that we can get that road actually built?
I mean, I think if they were putting in the funding, they were committing funding, and we could use that to leverage the STI process to get it programmed in the STIP is really the only way. But even then, you're still looking at 10 years out. Is the former Pittenger property, remind me, is that one affected by the Catawba Crossings alignment as well?
Yes.
Okay. Update for Catawba Crossings. We have submitted that project for a feasibility study for SPR grant. That's state planning and research funding. We submitted an application that is 80-20, 80% federal funding, 20% local match. We requested $500,000 is what we were told we probably needed to request. The final list of awarded projects I expect sometime in May. but I have gotten verbal confirmation that they are gonna fund that one.
Good.
I have not pushed that information out until I get it in writing, because anything can change, and that quickly, things can change.
Especially this project.
For this project, which I was told at the state conference this past week that this is the most contentious project in the state.
Over 77?
For,
Total cross.
for, I guess, at the state
At the state
level.
level.
Yeah. And so anyway, that's going to require a local match. The local match cannot come from the MPO because we cannot match federal funding with our federal dollars. So we will be most likely making our rounds to the local governments to see if there's anything that you can put in, Greater Gaston Development Corporation and the businesses. That local match is going to be split. We have 70% of the project is on the Gaston side, 30% of the project is on Mecklenburg County side. And I do know, because we are a Tier 2 county, that the state can actually pay half of our required local match. So I've done like some quick math, and I think we're only going to be looking at like $30,000 that we're going to have to come up with on our side of the river. So, we'll be going to all the local communities, and I really hope the business community may step up and help us come up with that local match. But just heads up on that one, because that would be a FY '20 project. But until I know how much funding we're getting and what that looks like, unfortunately, I can't get ahead of budget. I'm pretty much.
Anything else?
Thank you,
Any
Randy.
other questions?
Thanks.
Is there any update from the MPO board?
No, nothing I can think of right offhand.
We just wanted to update you on what was going on with those projects. So if there's nothing else, we can adjourn this meeting, and we'll have a budget workshop in 8 minutes.
Randy, I bet you go to sleep at night having roads in your head, huh?
This
All
is
the
the-
time.
Yeah.
And I can't drive down the road.
Did you say that the Catawba